as a karate man, when I first walked into Clay O'Shea's boxing gym, I found out how little I knew about punching, or I should say, how little I knew about punching when I didn't have range or distance. Now, at around that time, for those who know me, I was also heavily involved in tennis. That was my career before this, first as an aspiring pro and then as a coach for many, many years. And one of my great influences was the brilliant Boris Becker. I know it's contentious now, he's been a bad boy, but as a tennis player, it was unbelievable. He was one of my heroes. And actually, it was watching Becker and observing his tennis that helped me develop punching power, which I want to speak to you about today. So we in karate traditionally need, not always, but on the whole, we need distance to create momentum. Think of a catapult, right? If you're standing on top of a catapult, there's no force, so there needs distance. And a lot of karate is like that. Of course, there are close range techniques that we do in our syllabus, but most karateka they're not really very good at them, right? Boxers, however, are. So when you go to boxing, you start to realize actually how to create what I call creating something from nothing. So how do you generate force and power when you haven't got the distance to do so? All right, so there are a couple of things. So with distance, in a space between you and your opponent, of course, you've got room to create momentum, whether that's be rotational momentum or just straight momentum, all right? And that gathers speed like a train coming across a gap, hits you, and there's your power. But when you haven't got any room, you haven't got that. So we need to generate force. Now, this is where the tennis comes in, because it's similar in tennis. Baseline shots, forehand and backhand, they're about creating force, rotation, distance, getting the ball from one baseline to the other. Very long actions, long takebacks, long contact, long follow through. Fine. Volleys though, when you're by the net, you know, where you hit the ball before it drops. It's the wisdom in that we can use to generate, boom, our hooks, whether it be a backhand hook or a front hand hook. And it's this. So when, for example, you're volleying, let's take a forehand volley, okay? What happens is you've got no room. If you swing at a volley, you miss it. So it's creating something from nothing. So how do you get power with such little room? Kind of a little bit 1-inch punchy. And this is how we do it. I'll show you in some videos. I'll take some shots to be doing stuff, but essentially there's a couple of things that has to happen. You've got to assume there's no room, just as if you're punching someone close. There's no room. So you have to generate the power from nothing. So this happens by having a firm kind of brace or a firm frame. That's important. If it's a floppy frame or an extended frame, there's no room to do anything with that. So it has to be a firm, solid frame. That's number one. Second, it's about timing. You have to, when it's time to hit the ball, you have to release the frame, so go toward the ball, and as you strike, you contract. That's where the timing is, like in a hook. There's no room, you have to release the frame, and as you make contact, bam, then you contract, same as a forehand volley. Release, bang, contract, right? And of course, and I'll show you this in a video, you can't see my feet in this explanation, but in a video, then there's rotation. You haven't got much rotation when there's no room, but you have to make do with what you have got. So you're pivoting foot on the ground. Now that's true whether you're forehand volley. If you're on a backhand volley, it's a little bit different because there's even less rotation. So for example, if I was backhand chopping, I've hardly got any rotation at all. So what I then have to do is hold the hand back like it's an elastic band. The timing then has to be even better. So I've got to hold it back, hold it back, hold it back, bam, explode, right? Which is why a backhand volley is often not as strong as a forehand volley, or anything on the reverse side of a hand. So your rack end, for example, is not as good, boom, as a gack. All right, so I'll show you in the videos, I'll cut them in so you can see. But essentially, that's how we create something from nothing, by following the mechanics and the physical understanding of some of the best tennis players in the world. Enjoy.